I think the moment I realized this isn't going to work anymore, and I'm talking about my wife, and I was married for 25 years, and unfortunately, my wife passed away from alcohol use disorder a little over 4.5 years ago. And there was one incident that was just so past the boundary of a relationship that I could no longer really stand for it. And I've talked about this once before, but I'll go in a little bit more detail this time. My wife had had 4 DUIs, and she was at this point she was under house arrest, and that means that she had an ankle bracelet on her ankle, and she could leave for a period of time, but she had to check in periodically with the police force, whatever that meant. And she hadn't been doing that. So it was a Saturday morning, about 7:30 in the morning, and the police showed up. And what happened was I was in my bathrobe. It was about 7:30 in the morning, and I went out to the garage to get something out of the garage refrigerator, and I saw flashing lights at the end of the driveway. So I walked up to the garage door, the little windows there, on my tippy toes, looked up, and there's two police officers walking up the driveway. And I just went, what the hell? They didn't see me. So they started knocking on the door. I'm like, I don't know what this is about, but I'm not answering the door in my bathrobe. And this went on for like 15, 20 minutes, and they were looking in the window, and I was in the garage just going, what am I supposed to do? What the hell is going on? What are they here for? And so I looked around the corner, and they saw me looking in the window, and they saw me in the house, and they just said, answer the door. So I was just like, what is going on? So I went up to the door, and I answered the door, and they immediately just walked in like they owned the place. And I remember feeling very vulnerable because I didn't even know what they were there for. They just walked in there in my living room. I'm standing there in my bathrobe going, what's going on, guys? They go, well, your wife is under house arrest. And I don't know if you realize this, but when she's under house arrest, your house is an extension of the jail. So we can come in and check anytime we need to. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? I go, so anybody in this house needs to come downstairs right now. We need to find out what's going on. I'm just like, okay. So I went up and I followed the police officer upstairs. We had to get our son at the time. He was, I think, 17. We had to pull him out of bed. He was sound asleep. He had to get a bathrobe out. He had to come downstairs. And then my wife. And they walked right in our bedroom, and she was on crutches at the time, and it was kind of an ordeal. They finally got her downstairs, and it was insane. I remember just sitting there. I remember yelling at my wife, like, this is what we've come to. Now we have police coming to our house because you can't take care of your responsibilities. And I remember screaming at her. And to make matters worse, one of the police officers walked upstairs, and he came down, and he goes, look, I need you to come upstairs with me. I'm like, what now? So I walked upstairs. Well, I have a lot of weapons in my house. I have at the time at that house, I had a World War II museum, which was upstairs. I have a lot of medieval weapons in my office. If you followed me at all, you've probably seen them in the background. And I go, you can't have weapons in your house when this is an extension of the jail. We're going to have to take everything out. I'm like, what? You're not taking like probably 1,000 items out of this house. Yeah, we're going to take them as long as she's under house arrest, and that's the deal. Otherwise, she has to go to jail right now. And I said, take her. Okay, you're not tearing my house apart because of my wife's inability to contact you or do what she's supposed to do. I said, take her. And at this point, the police officer was a little bit concerned because he realized how serious I was. He realized I was pissed off. And I had to tell them that my anger wasn't directed towards them. I shook their hands. I mean, they were just doing their job. I wasn't mad at the police. It was just the situation. So we walked back downstairs, and he was a guy about my age, actually. He said he was retiring in a couple of years back then. And we ended up he was a very kind officer. And he said, here's the deal. If you take all your stuff and put it in closets and underneath beds, we're not going to take it. Okay, so we'll come back in about a week. Just make sure all the weapons in the house are cleared out, and that should be okay. We're going to have another officer come over, and then that should be okay. And eventually they left. And I can remember just the three of us sitting on the couches in the living room after they left, just looking at my wife. And I just said, this isn't going to fly for me anymore, Amanda. This just isn't going to work. Your alcoholism has put the three of us in harm's way. Now you have police coming to our house because you haven't been checking in. You have 4 DUIs, and you're still drinking. Okay, I'm out working during the day, and I know that you're sneaking alcohol, whatever you're doing, into the house and drinking during the day. This is no longer going to work for me. And really, I tell this story because I know so many families go through this kind of drama and so much more, and that it's relatable. And these very true life stories were filled with a lot of emotion and anger and frustration. I mean, later on, my wife had to go through to another rehab facility shortly thereafter. After she got off I think she had a 3 month ankle bracelet at that point. But there were some other things that happened in the meantime. And that's another story. It'll be a part two. But again, a lot of this drama, again, will be in the book. It's called Amanda, A Cautionary Tale of Alcoholism. The link is provided. It's in the link tree. Then you go to the website, and then you can pre-order it on the PayPal button right at the website just as soon as you open it up. It's a little over 300 pages. Got pictures of Amanda and us and our family. It's an important book for alcoholics, families of alcoholics, recovering alcoholics, and anybody who likes a good story. It's an amazing story. It's an important story because it's from the perspective of the family. And again, thanks so much for listening.